Hello everyone, and welcome back to another GIS lecture video. And in this lecture video, what I want to do is I want to continue our discussion on projections by talking about a couple of specific map projections that you're likely to encounter in the real world when dealing with data. In specific, I want to talk about Lambert conformal conic, Albers equal area conic, Mercator, UTM or universal transverse Mercator, and then finally state plane. So the reason that I want to talk about these are the top three, and more importantly the top two, right? These are used exclusively or mostly exclusively, right? Maps of the US or maps of multiple states. Right. And so if you're trying to map large areas, so things like North America, chances are you're going to end up using either a Lambert conformal conic or an Albers equal area conic. Right. And so just to sort of recap what we've got here, right? Conic means that we're using, right, a conic projection. Conformal and equal area basically have to do with the types of distortions. Now, I didn't spend any great length going into the different kinds of distortions we can have because they're all distortions. But basically what we can do is we can create different types of map projections that account for different types of distortions. Conformal, the conformal projection, right, tries to maintain angles. What I mean by that, and I don't like saying this because if you read through textbooks, you'll see that this is not true, but basically a way to consider this is that conformal tries to maintain shape. Right, so if you were to look at Greenland, for example, because Greenland's a good example of where these things tend to go wrong, right? Greenland will look like Greenland, it just may be drastically larger, right? So a conformal projection tries to maintain angles, which means it tries to maintain shape. Equal area, or sometimes called equivalent, right? Equal area obviously means, right, it tries to maintain area, right? Because again, right, we saw that distortion is inevitable. The question becomes, how do we represent that distortion? Do we represent that distortion by changing the shape of an area of a landmass or a region, but trying to maintain the area? So therefore we make something look like this. If this is the reality of it, do we make it look like this, which is the same area? Or do we make it look like this, where we keep the shape, but the area is now much bigger? right? That is the fundamental difference between a conformal and an equal area, is that a conformal will try to keep the shape by making the area larger, whereas an equal area will try to maintain the area by distorting the shape. Okay. And again, these two, Lambert conformal conic and Albers equal area conic, are by and large the two most commonly used map projections for North America if you're trying to map the entirety of the US or mapping multiple states. It should also be noted that because of aspect and case, right, you will see Lambert conformal conic and Albers equal area conic for pretty much anywhere on the globe, right? Because we can rotate it slightly, we can flip it over so it's on the southern hemisphere. So there are South American equivalents, there are European equivalents, there are pretty much anything that is in the northern part of the northern hemisphere or the southern part of the southern hemisphere is going to have some form of Lambert conformal conic or Albers equal area conic. You just have to go online and figure out what the name is for the region that you're looking at. Right. Next, we have Mercator. So Mercator is sort of, we've actually already done Mercator, right? But Mercator is the traditional, right? Secant case equatorial cylindrical projection, right? This is Mercator. Now, the reason why we don't see Mercator used too often for North America is because if you think about, right, where's North America? Well, North America is, sort of up in this area here, right? So if we think about projecting that out, right, we get a fair amount of distortion from Mercator. So Mercator is not particularly useful for North America. Again, you would want to use an Albers conic or a Lambert conic. But you still see Mercator used a lot, especially if you're mapping large swaths of the globe. Right? A lot of world maps are Mercator. The internet uses something called Web Mercator, which is a very similar definition to this. Right? So you see Mercator pop up all the time, and it's important to just be aware that this is what's going on. Now I'm going to make a note here, right? Mercator, large distortions in northern and southern hemispheres. Okay. You know what? We're actually going to stop this video here because I want to actually spend a fair amount of time talking about UTM and State Plane because they're probably the ones that you're going to use most often when dealing with local data, which is, to be fair, most of the data people deal with on a daily basis. So let's go ahead and end the video here with the idea that you have three map projections that you're going to see often: Lambert conformal conic and Albers equal area conic, depending on whether you're trying to maintain shape with conformal or whether you're trying to maintain area with Albers equal area. The conic is why it's most widely used for things that are in northern and southern latitudes. And again, right, there's equivalents of these for pretty much every major region, right? North America has North America, Europe has Europe, there's equivalents for South America. Just go on the internet to figure out which one you need. Another important one is Mercator, which is sort of the global one, right? The internet uses Web Mercator, which again is just an equatorial tangent cylindrical projection. So as always, if you have any questions, please reach out. Thank you.